Break It Down show live from the Loft.
Live from the Loft with Jason Diavatis. Yes, indeed. Hey, man. So listen, you and I come from Benicia. You have lived there forever. I lived there for a long time. I consider Benicia my home, but I've lived abroad quite a bit. But one of my favorite things to do is to come down to your place because where you're situated on First Street. And so for those that don't know Benicia, it is a gorgeous town. It is one of the very few towns in the Bay Area where First Street, what we call Main Street, stops at the Bay. And technically it's the Straits, but it jumps right up on the water. And so really it's just one of the most picturesque towns. And then across from us, there's nothing but open green space across the main part of town. And it's just such a beautiful place. And then Jason's restaurant is situated so that the sunsets, which are gorgeous all the time, you're just perfectly situated, man. And I love it. And you're such a great restaurateur. Like, you spend your day at your place, welcoming people, hosting. I'm so thrilled to have you on to talk about what you're doing and just, throw a little positive shine on Benicia and the businesses that are downtown.
Pete, thanks for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Benicia. Of course, a little bit about my restaurant and maybe some other fun things today. Benicia is absolutely a perfect town. Big shout out to my old man for letting me grow up in this town. Absolutely love it. So I was very fortunate to be born and raised in this town. We're a waterfront community, surrounded by water on three sides. And as you said, Pete, it's the Carquinez Strait. That body of water between two bridges, not the straits, but the strait, as my father always reminded me. So Benicia was founded in 1850. It was a gold miners' town, a drinking town, and it was a town of ill repute in the early days. But that's the Old West for you. Nowadays,
it was the Old West. It was a hub. It was
the hub. People don't realize there were not those two bridges that connect Contra Costa County to Solano County. If you wanted to get onto Oakland or San Francisco in those days, you had to come through Benicia, get on one of two ferries, the Solano or the Contra Costa, and take it over to either Port Costa or Martinez. Yeah. Those would have been amazing days. But Benicia was a big activity spot. I couldn't be more thrilled to have an amazing restaurant downtown in an amazing town. But we're joined by so many other great places. We've got other restaurants right on the water, all up and down First Street.
One of the things that's fun about Benicia too is it's got a lot of history to it. It's a spur for although never used, a spur for the Pony Express. We had Generals Grant and and General Sherman back when they were lieutenants and captains. They met up there. They knew each other from their West Point days and way before the Civil War. They because it was a point you went to if you were going to go to Sacramento or somewhere else. And by the way, it was the capital before Sacramento became the final official capital of California.
We were the third capital of California.
Yeah, that's right. And we have the first state capitol building. So, it had a very high peak in terms of importance. And now it's just settled into this lovely groove where, when we were growing up, there were restaurants and that kind of thing. But now the downtown has really, in the last 20 years, picked up and thrived with all of these great options and, bars that aren't, we used to have a lot of dives and stuff. It's not so diving anymore downtown.
Right. Well, I always credit my friend Delando for taking the Pastime, which was the Pastime. Everybody went to the Pastime. That was definitely a cool dive bar. I didn't go. I was a little bit too young. But when Delando took over that space and built the Relic, that to me was kind of the beginning of elevating our downtown nightlife. Of course, my buddy Dennis Colin had Choices long before that, which was a great spot. So the Union Hotel was always a great spot and still a hot spot. Yeah. Sailor Jack's down on the water. There's not a better location to have a restaurant. Since Sailor Jack's already has that, Bella Sienna's got a beautiful spot right on the water. But we're right across the street, and we get to share that same amazing water view with them.
Yeah. That's the landscape. And anybody who's anywhere near the Bay Area, Benicia is a great place, especially like if you're going to or from the wine country. It's like the perfect spot to sneak in. And it's a hidden gem. A lot of folks, even in the Bay, are like, I don't know where that is.
Because people in Martinez, they're like, where's Benicia?
Literally across like a mile away.
You can see us. Well, it's funny because Benicia is obviously also an industrial town. So we have refinery. So I know we'll get into it later, but Valero was originally built in 1976, long before it was Valero. So that was, I believe that's actually the newest refinery built in California on the West Coast, actually, 1976. So people see that. They come through the industrial part of Benicia. They think we're a bridge and they think we're a refinery town. Well, we are definitely a proud refinery town, but we have an amazing historic downtown. I love when people come down and experience it for the first time. They're amazed and they keep coming back.
So all of these wonderful things, 99% of the time, that's what we have. These wonderful experiences. We've got great choices. We love our tourism. We have our farmers market, all these things. But right now with the COVID stuff, we're struggling to try to figure out what it means to run a business in a small town. Now, Solano County has done pretty well overall with the COVID thing. And it's a big county. It's pretty sizable. But talk a little bit about what it's like for you specifically, but in general, your fellow business owners on First Street, because as you guys go, the town goes.
We're fortunate. We're, of all the Bay Area counties, Solano County is sometimes I think we're a little bit of the stepchild in town. I think people don't really think much of Solano County. They don't realize how amazing it is here. But our Solano County Board of Supervisors, led by an old family friend of mine, Aaron Hannigan, boy, I tell you, we are really fortunate. And our public health officer is reasonable. We're not required to wear masks in Solano County. And we were one of the first Bay Area counties to, maybe we are the first, as a matter of fact, to be open. So I was on the phone several times a week with Aaron Hannigan. Poor Aaron, if you're watching, you're not watching. But if you were watching, I'll apologize to you right now. So she had to deal with me every day calling, all right, Aaron, what are the rules? What's going on? When are we going to open? Right. So we had indications about a week in advance, just because I was on the phone with her all the time, that we were going to be able to reopen in the next few days. And then finally, when we got to Thursday, it's like, all right, we're opening. And then our county public health officer, wrote the order for Friday morning at 6 a.m. That was a surprise. We thought it was going to happen on that Thursday. And of course, we had all the media was out. So I did have the opportunity to do a few news spots. People probably got tired of seeing me on TV, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So reopening in Solano County, we're really fortunate. We get to welcome people back. We've sat here for 2.5 months, just dying on the vine, really painful. We couldn't have people here. We were struggling to do takeout. We're not really a takeout type of place. Yeah. We adapted. You have to. So we did offer takeout, and it was popular. I've talked to all the other restaurants, and I can say for a fact that most of them were losing money every day they were doing takeout. So we're really excited that we can welcome people back. Of course, the health and safety of our public and our employees is always important. But I have to admit, that's not new. That's always been a concern, right? So there's a lot of new stuff coming out with COVID. I'm pretty sure the state of California put together this big book of rules and pushed it out to the restaurants and the bars and said, okay, good luck. And I feel so I will speak as a restaurant owner myself. It really feels like California said, we're not going to be responsible for anything. So here's all the rules. They're not really rules because we had rules that we were under before COVID. Right. Restaurants should wash their hands. They should sanitize all surfaces. But then let's talk about the kitchen, the food, the temperatures, how you prep your food. There's a lot of safety guidelines. None of these new guidelines are guidelines. They're not directives. It doesn't require masks. Right. It heavily encourages it. But they've gone out and told the public. The public messaging is, oh, restaurants are required to wear masks. Show me where it says it. If it says it, I missed it. Yeah. So I've had conversations with friends of mine in law enforcement recently. I won't use names because I love these guys and I don't want them to feel I'm singling them out. But they asked me, Jason, do you know the rules for reopening? I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the rules. But the more important question is, do you know the rules? Right. The look of bewilderment is, as well as anybody else. Okay, well, good luck with that. Yeah. Well, and to be fair to everybody, they seem to change, and our individual interpretations seem to be dramatically different. Like Costco puts in a hard and fast, you will wear masks. Okay, cool. But then the next place, they're like, whatever, just come on in, and be safe, whatever. And so it is a little tricky to
to sort that out. I want to back up and talk a little bit about surviving through at least the early portion. You at one point intended to stay open and have people come in. And then unfortunately, like, and this isn't a, we were all trying to sort it out. You're trying to do business as normal as much as possible, but it wasn't tenable with just even the attitude of people. They weren't going to be comfortable with that.
What a great point.
Yeah.
What a great point. What happened was originally, and I don't remember the exact date. I'm going to say March 16th because I think that was the date, but it was right thereabouts. We hear it comes down. It's like, okay, all restaurants have to close for dine-in. You can only do takeout. I said, absolutely not. It wasn't an order at that point, by the way, but yes, right. I was openly defiant. I am very much, I love our Constitution. I love this country. And I believe in personal responsibility and personal choice. You should choose if you want to go out. If you want to stay home, stay home. If you want to go out, go out. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, don't.
Right.
What I don't like is anybody trying to tell somebody else what they can and cannot do. So I was openly defiant. Yes, I put it on my Facebook page. I do not apologize for it at all. What I can tell you, the next morning I got a phone call from actually one of my high school classmates at our police department, and he was a higher ranking officer, not an officer, but again, I don't want to rat anybody out.
Right.
Great guy, love him to death. I love our police department here. They're fantastic, and we're fortunate for him. So anyway, he says, Jason, and it was just a personal conversation like you and I are having right now, except we're sharing it with the other 5 or 6 people watching. And sorry, Pete, not in the front. So he says, what are your plans? You're going to stay open? Absolutely. He says, can I talk you out of it? He had information I didn't have. He knew something was coming down. I did not know. And he was looking out for me. And I appreciate it greatly. So by the end of the conversation, I said, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I got off the phone with him and I gave it a few minutes thought. The public opinion is absolutely overwhelmingly not in favor. And that's important because as a restaurant owner, I'm here to serve my community.
Right.
That's a key thing. If you're not here to serve your community, why would you be here?
Right. Yeah. They get a vote.
Oh,
And the
100%.
other thing about that is like all business owners, no one budgets for 3 or 4 months of being basically out of business or limping along or instantly changing your business model. You probably, as a good business owner, you probably know exactly how many butts you need in seats and how quickly you need to get them out the door. And I'm not going to ask you.
Restaurants are designed for socializing. We're not designed for social distancing. Every restaurant, every bar, 100% designed for the social experience.
Yes, right. And so you're fighting for your business's very life, and then again, back when you put this out, it's early on. We don't know what help is coming down. And I don't know if you took any loan money or any of that kind of stuff at all, but these programs weren't even in place yet. So you really are trying to fight for your business's survival.
Yeah.
And then, what about the business next to you? What if they're 20% less healthy than your business? Can they even survive? And all of a sudden now you're really kind of fighting as a group for the community's business survival, because if 7 restaurants fail, that's not good for any restaurant down there.
No, it's not. We need a healthy downtown. That's really important. And for me, a healthy downtown starts, and I think we all just learned this economics lesson, right? A healthy downtown starts with your bars and your restaurants. If they're healthy and succeeding and people like them and support them, then your retail shops, they survive, they do well, and they thrive. And then your community feels like, wow, we have a hub of the community. Well, now we're learning how important your bars and restaurants really are. I feel like we're the spark plugs to the economic engine, because now you're hearing, since we've been closed for 2.5 months and struggling and failing, now you're hearing the state, we're going to cut across the board 10%. Well, so originally people thought, well, it's just the bars and restaurants. They're going to struggle. Yeah. But they realized that it's all the way down the line. So economy, everything is tied together. It's amazing, as a matter of fact. But I think that's an economics lesson that the whole world, I think, just learned it. And it was a hard lesson. So, but I want to go back to something you mentioned. Most restaurants, on average, keep about 16 days of cash reserves on hand, which means we don't have much cash. It's a hard business. There's a really thin profit margin. I always feel bad every time I hear somebody say about my place or another restaurant, well, it's so expensive. Yeah, if you just had any idea what goes into it and how little of that the restaurant owners even get to take home.
Right.
But during
Right.
this whole shutdown, I was worried about me. Absolutely. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I wasn't worried. But I've managed to put some savings away. So I did draw on my savings quite a bit. My hope was I wasn't going to drain it. But you know what I was really worried about was my
Mm,
employees.
yeah.
I have one of my employees is a single mom with 2 kids. How is she going to feed her family? This is her sole job.
Right.
And none of my staff went out on unemployment. I didn't lay off a single person.
Wow.
So it was really important to me. They're very loyal here. They're loyal to this place and to me. It can't be a one-way street. So I'm loyal back, and I did anything I could. Of course, we were all struggling, but I really wanted to make sure that they came out of this hole. I wanted my staff intact when we came out of this, but I
Yeah.
also wanted my community to know we're still here. They've been amazing. The support in our town has been fantastic. And when the floodgates opened, we were so busy. I had to shut down the kitchen for 2 hours on Saturday just so chef could catch up.
Wow.
So my message to the other restaurants and bars that have not opened yet, be optimistic, because
Yeah.
people are dying to get back. Dying is probably the wrong word, but people are excited to. It's a post-COVID world, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah.
So be optimistic. The business is there. And if you run a good operation and you're safe and healthy, people are excited to come back and support you. So open up.
Yeah.
Do it smart, but open up.
Yeah. Well, and then that's the other thing is like some of these businesses are coded as phase 3 or whatever. And like one of those phase 3 businesses are tattoo parlors. And it's another place that has an extraordinary amount of regulation, at least here in California. I mean, you literally have to have an ID and enter it into a system to get a tattoo or a piercing or whatever it's going to be. And these places have to be clean. They have no choice but to be clean. And so it seems like if you want to go and get a tattoo, like why would you like if you're going to put that many regulations on them to make sure that you're protecting the populace? It seems like, hey, this is like one of the first places you can open. Yeah, you're not socially distant, but gloves, fresh needles, fresh masks all the time for everybody, and all of a sudden you've covered for a lot of things. I'm not a doctor, but these problems are not just. This is an interesting thing about this, Jason. I want to get your thoughts. The COVID-19 problem is not just an epidemiologist problem. All social problems are multivariate. And so you have the problem of when all is said and done, when we look at how many people died in the US this year, and usually it's a little less than 3 million people die every year. Will that number be significantly different? Or will COVID have indirectly killed people who never even got the disease because their business fails and they kill themselves? We know that domestic violence is up. There's a lot of different ways that people are harming themselves beyond what the COVID thing does. It's an exceptionally tough problem to manage when you're trying to look out for the safety of your employees. By the way, I wanted to give you some credit too, because when you go to support a downtown business, obviously rent on First Street is not cheap. All those businesses are struggling to survive all the time. And then at any point, your lease comes up and you've got to either, accept the raise and all those things. That's why, like, when you do go spend, it's not that you're, becoming fantastically wealthy from this. You get to earn a living, but you're also, when times get tough, you're supporting your employees. You didn't lay anybody off. That's remarkable, man. Good for you for doing that.
Thank you.
Let me get back to the question though. As we look at these kind of problems, you run a business, you look around at your peer businesses on First Street, yes, the disease part is a big part of it, but what about these socioeconomic problems that cause dramatic? I mean, imagine if you had to cut your staff loose and just, limp along with you and chef just doing takeout orders. You guys aren't built for that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm looking for the rest of the question.
Sorry, I was going to put Tom Mason's quote up here. He says, I was in Calistoga yesterday, and I can say that things are going to be really difficult for the businesses now. Maybe half of the businesses were closed with signs on the door saying that they were trying to figure out how to move forward with the new regulations. And so again, this is a multivariate problem. What other kind of problems are we seeing that are I hate to say existential because that seems so overblown, but the ability to make revenue. Heck, we lost 907 as a restaurant, another restaurant in downtown Benicia.
Good friend of mine, Randy Ramis, yeah.
Yeah, and how long has he had a restaurant on First Street? And for him to go, can't do it anymore,
let me tell you, when I was a kid, I was 14 years old, and I worked with Randy for his older brother, Danny Sandoval.
Right.
So some people don't realize the connection between Randy Ramus and Sandoval. So Danny Sandoval being his brother, of course, Deanne and Pam Sandoval. I worked with all those guys when I was a kid. So
Right.
I was 14. I'm 46 now. So what is that? Do the math. 22 years ago. Am I doing the right math?
It's a long time.
I'm on the spot. It was a long time ago. So I've been friends with Randy since I was 14.
Yeah.
So it was really fantastic. I've watched Randy through all of his businesses, and always he's been a role model for me. I really like Randy a lot, and his brother Danny is doing amazing work. Deanne Sandoval is going really well. So Randy's been around for a very, very long time. He's had several restaurants around here, and it's really sad to see him not on First Street. It's the end of an era with Randy gone.
And he knows how to run a restaurant, and then all of a sudden this hits,
Hard
and
worker.
it's hard worker and very successful. So again, like as you look at this, what are some of the other problems that you see in terms of protecting the community, not just from COVID? Okay, we talked about that, but what are some of the other problems that are threatening, just in general, small town way of life? Kind of speak to the small town people. What else is going on that's harming them?
It is a socioeconomic issue. In fact, I'll go back to your earlier point. Originally, I think a big divide was on political basis. I think it quickly turned to another divide, and that was based on socioeconomic. If you're paycheck secure, you wanted to keep everything closed down until we had a vaccine. So 18 months, let's do it.
Yeah.
If you're a small business owner or you work for a small business, you're like, absolutely not. We can be safe. We can be out. We can operate our businesses. And watching the floodgates open, Benicia has been a hub of activity and excitement these last couple of days, so especially with the nice weather. I think some of the big issues, the city of Benicia, for example, they're projecting millions of dollars. I guessed right out of the gate that we were going to lose $6 to $8 million just based off of sales tax revenue shortfalls and Measure C, which is something that the city voted for. That we're
So this
also
is city revenue you're talking about being
just
drawn off the top. Okay.
Absolutely. So the city's going to have to find really, really creative ways to rebuild the revenues. My fear locally is that they're just going to come back to the citizens, to the residents, and especially the business owners, and try to figure out how can they tax us more.
Right.
Because that's traditionally what the city does, whether it's the water rates, whether it's city fees. And I'm really, really pushing against that. Fortunately, I'm friends with all of our council members. And I think there's some good logic up there. I'm hoping that that's not the goal.
Yeah.
But, I think that if the city helps the businesses, I think government in general, not the federal government, that's not really their place. The state could cut some regulations and help us. But on the local level, to your point, the city could do a few things to help improve the small businesses. So help us.
Yeah.
And that way we can rebuild our businesses. So we're not going after government money anymore, but we're also able to generate more sales tax, which is what the city needs. Really important.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to look up your skirt too much here, but I want to try to get a sense for when you look at your business. And again, you're an entrepreneur. You've started a number of businesses. This restaurant that you're in grew from another idea and has become this mega thing. So
it was a total accident. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was, right? So when you look at how long will this take you to recover from? And we don't even know when the damage is going to stop. Yes, we're open, but there's a lot of people that legitimately are like, it's too early, we want to close, and what if there is a second and third wave even? Right.
We were down to about 20 to 25% of our typical revenue. Really, really scary. And I talked to, like I said, I've been out, I've been on the phone and visiting as much as I can with other business owners. And a lot of people are saying definitely anywhere from 20 to 40% of revenue. That's scary. Wow. So that's 60 to 80% loss.
Right.
How do you recover from that? We're not going to. And the government money, the PPP was helpful for some, but it didn't get all the way. The best thing the government could do, get out of our way. We're business owners. We're small business owners. We are the entrepreneurs. We are the ones that figure out solutions, and we're directly connected with our communities. We're trying, and it's in our best interest to do what our community wants.
Right.
So if they get out of our way, let us solve the problem. They created the problem. Let's solve the problem.
Scott Burford puts in a quote. Jason is 100% right. The city's is going to be coming after us to fix the revenue problem. And this is a pretty big point. Wherever you are politically, all these businesses, all these folks, everybody's hurt. And then now, to support our government, they're going to at some point want some of this money back, because the city's like, hey, we're short $6 million. We're not going to tax San Francisco for it. Right. We're going to find ways to drive that revenue. So now, not only, let's say that like the damage is 40% of your overall earnings for the year, plus whatever percentage the city needs to keep going. And you have to pay the city so that it can continue to do the things because, I don't know, let's just make up a couple of things. City programs that keep the city safe, like, repaving streets. That's always a problem in every city in the entire nation. Well, now how far behind schedule are all those programs? And even if you have the money, you can't really speed that system up very much because you're not going to have 15 road crews out there. So all these problems start to stack up and mount. And the city is like, hey, we really need some cash to get in front of these things, or it only gets more expensive.
And Pete, I'll tell you, I think that the city could probably be a little bit more efficient on how they do things. I think any large operation, whether it's a business or a government, there's always lots of waste.
Right.
One of the things, and I'm not an expert on these things, but I want to learn a lot more about it. One of the things that I've been asking for the last couple of years is, why don't we have our own road crew, right? Why doesn't the city of Benicia invest in some equipment that we can fix our own roads? Because that is one of the top things people in our community complain about, water rates and the quality of our streets. I've actually started talking to some of our public works employees, and they're interested with that idea, but I don't know it's been discussed. I don't know it's been looked at. I can't say it has or has not, but I really would like to see our city start to, sadly, our city right now is debating, should we require our citizens to wear face masks in Benicia? Right. That's a new thing. So our Solano County, we have a public health officer who has said, we are not required. They recommend it, but they're stopping short of requiring it. But now, and some of these are friends of mine, so I don't want to blast them too hard. I just disagree with them. I like these people, but I think that they're taking a lot of pressure from. There are many in our community that would love to have Benicia shut down for another 18 months. They would love to have Benicia required face masks inside, outside, everywhere you go. Our city council shouldn't be discussing things like that, wasting your time. We don't have a public health officer. We shouldn't be discussing that. We should be discussing, how do we recover? How do we help our community get through the last 2.5 months shutdown? Yeah. And one of those things is, we have a great team of public employees, and I'll bet you some of them would be more than happy to be on even a seasonal team repaving our streets. We could buy our own equipment. Again, I'm not an expert. I haven't looked at the numbers. Yeah. If somebody out there is an expert and they want to talk to me about it, I'd love to learn about it. But you lease equipment. Maybe there's grants available. There's all kinds of opportunities. I don't want to see our city talking about face masks. There's no one in our city qualified to talk about public health. Yeah. Let's talk about real issues that we can fix in our community.
No, that's a great point. And listen, I don't fault anybody for wanting to wear a mask, that kind of thing. But if we just look at the recent history of masks, it's been chaotic. The CDC has said, wear masks, don't wear masks. We have the belief that a bandana, or a t-shirt is somehow, a safety measure. And look, that doesn't follow any kind of science that I understand. So there's all these different things where we continue, and then you can't wear the same N95 mask over and over again, so you have to rotate these things out.
But Pete, it's really important. This is a hot issue, especially in Benicia. There are those, and some of them are wonderful people that I know, good friends, that are very, very much, everybody needs to wear a mask. Listen, I don't blame you for wanting to wear a mask. That's terrific. Wear one. What I have a problem with is not people wearing masks. I have a problem with people shaming other people for not wearing masks. If you have a problem with somebody not wearing a mask, please stay 6 feet away. Yeah. That's all I ask. But just don't bully people for not wearing masks. There's been a big crash of that going on lately.
And the greater point that I'm trying to make about masks is it's fair for someone to say, I just don't think that we need to wear them because the information, the signals from the federal government and from California's government, it has been conflicting. They've changed their mind. So it's like, what's it going to be in 2 weeks? Like now we have to wear it. And then didn't the CDC just change their mind again as they learn? And they've said this thing it really passed through surfaces most effectively. So what we do know is that in Italy and out here, the average patient who dies from this is 80 plus years old. So we should absolutely protect folks who are in homes. I mean, can you imagine a worse place to be than in a closed environment? It's a terrible place, and it's the disease is exceptionally hard on those folks. And that's the average person.
You know that I'm really close with the Kirsch family, and one of
Okay.
my absolute favorite people in the world is, I've always called him Mr. K growing up. He's 82.
Yeah.
He absolutely does not. By the way, if you're watching this, Mr. K, shout out. But he does not want to be around public. He's worried for good reason, and I'm worried for him. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm against them protecting themselves. What I'm simply against is people telling other people what to do. Take care of yourself, control yourself. Don't try to control other people. I've always fervently been against that.
I want to bring up Scott Burford's point here before it gets too far past. Benicia and other cities will need to follow on programs and services that have measurable ROI. The idea of paving our own streets sounds like a good idea to me along those lines. And, having even, look, I'm making crazy things up, but, things like co-ops where you're like, hey, we're gonna use the grader crew today, and if you could just schedule it. I've walked around the town a lot because I used to be on the pedestrian committee, and you could see these roads, and I'm like, has anyone been on this road to improve it other than lay down oil in the last 30 years? And the answer for some of those places cannot be yes. There's so many where you're like, when I grew up, I lived on a cul-de-sac, probably the longest cul-de-sac in town. And every now and then they came by and got us. But because the road is so off the beaten path, it got forgotten a lot of times when they did things. And so it's easy to look at your road and be like, I'm paying taxes, but my road is garbage,
Right.
We're all this money for water. And how about the great leaking fire hydrant out in the industrial park that no one can decide who owes money for it. And so it just sits there and continues to spit money onto the street. I don't know if that thing's still leaking.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Well, there was one down there. Anyhow, there was a fire hydrant that for a long time was leaking out water, and the city said that it belongs to the occupant of the property, and they're like, we don't control utilities. That's your thing. You should fix. And so Benicia kept sending them a bill, and they kept saying, that's not our bill, that's not our utility. That's your utility.
It comes down to communication.
Yeah,
we don't have proper communication in many times with our city. There's great staff here, and I know a lot of them personally, so I can reach out and talk to them. But there's a lot of people that don't have the connections in the city that I have. They don't know who to talk to, and it's confusing.
Do you feel like Benicia is in any way exceptional with these struggles, or is this the common thing for, smaller? And Benicia, for those who don't know, Benicia is about 30,000 people. So let's say towns of 50,000 or smaller. Is this just the common thing that they're all sorting it out? And this is not a program that any city was like, we have emergency management programs, but here it is. Now you actually have to see how the program holds up,
Right. I got to tell you, I think that every little town thinks that it's only their little town that have these issues. I'm willing to bet that these issues are all over the place. I think every town really has the same issues, which is why I think it's really good. I know that there's a lot of the towns, they all communicate very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have great friends that are in city leadership in Valero, and I actually talk to them a fair amount and ask them, hey, how's this working for you guys? And so I like to get feedback from other communities. So I think that every town really does. They have a lot of common issues, a lot of common challenges.
Mary Roten, who's a big fan of the show, not from Benicia, but she says, have any of you given thought to getting the city council to fix the laws that are keeping businesses from opening? And is that the approach? Like, do we go to the city council and say, let's open this thing? But you guys are pretty open now, right?
Mary, that's a really great question. And I could tell you that the city of Benicia, and I can't speak for other cities, but Benicia, we don't have any extra that I am aware of, nothing that I'm following. We don't have any extra rules. So the extra rule right now that the city is starting to talk about is the masks, which A, they're way too late. B, they have no business discussing that, quite frankly, just because they don't have an expert in the city to do it. So the rules that we're following are our county and state. So here's the problem. So I had this conversation with Aaron Hannigan, again, who tons of respect for Aaron. So Aaron and I discussed this many times. If Solano County jumped ahead, and they considered it, by the way, if the governor had not reduced some of his noosing what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to be careful on this line here. There were some really overburdensome things that our governor was pushing on us. And Solano County was even considering bucking that. There was discussion. If Solano County, let's say, said bars and restaurants, go ahead and open, but the state of California said no, sure, we're not in trouble with our city, we're not in trouble with our county, but guess what? We all have state licenses.
Yeah.
So the state rules still matter. When it comes to ABC law, which is the alcoholic beverage control, that is not something you play with. If they tell you to jump, you jump. You don't say how high, you just jump.
You just get the jumping.
Right. So it wasn't the city issue. The city's I think they're really doing their best to try to figure out how they can help us. It's just a matter of let's focus them in the right path.
Yeah.
The county, they did everything they could. Solano County, like I said, was outstanding. But the state of California kept some of these rules in place, I think, for way too long. Again, that's a point of disagreement with many, and that's okay. Sure. I respect that. But as a small business owner, I can assure you the economic injury to all of our businesses and our communities is real and very serious.
Yeah. I mean, look, clearly you're connected in that kind of thing. And I want to mention Tom's comment. Tom Mason, again, a friend of mine, says, don't get me started on how people are blindly following the flip-flopping directives of the government. And this is a big point. Like, we are struggling to know what to do. I mean, when we look at the numbers, the big numbers, it's pretty clear the government has, in a lot of ways, overstepped and overreacted. I mean, look, if you want to be draconian about this, and you were to say, hey, President Trump, about 100,000 to maybe 120,000 people are going to die from this. Primarily, it's going to be the elderly that are going to die. And a lot of them have conditions where, like, if they didn't have them, they might survive this. Are you prepared to crater the entire economy? As a president, you have to go, let me get back to you on. Let me sleep on it. That is a big thing for a number
on both sides.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not advocating a position. I'm just saying that, and you're not afforded that kind of information. We were talking about millions of people before. So, but now that we're looking at this, it's like,
and who's going to be responsible for all those crazy overestimates? Nobody.
Right. Yeah. By the way, so the other thing I want to ask you, and by the way, Dan Goulden says he's watching. We appreciate Dan watching. Hey, Dan. Everybody should be watching and listening to the Break It Down show.
I'm loving it. I'm seeing people from Benicia watching the Break It Down show. That's all with my boy Pete. I love it.
That's right. Hey, man, so here's my question. What are you going to do about this? I mean, I know you got a business and you're going to be fine because you know what to do, but what the hell are you going to do about this? You're all impassioned and everything. Talk to me.
Are you setting me up, Pete?
I probably am.
Is that a setup?
That ball's on the tee, man. It's your time to swing.
I love you, man. Well, put me on the spot. I knew you were going to do this to me, too. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do about it, Pete.
All right,
as a lifelong Benician and a small business owner here for, a long time, since I was 19, I'll make the announcement. Should I do it?
You should.
Does anybody want me to do this? I don't know. We don't have really live people on the comms, do we? All right, I'll do it. Officially, I'm Jason Diavatis, and I am running for mayor of Benicia for 2020. There you go. Is that what you wanted?
Kaboom. Jason Diavatis is running for mayor of Benicia in 2020.
Where's your breaking news? Where's the breaking news?
Yeah, I'll have to correct the banner to put that breaking news. Yeah, man. So look, you have, as you've invented your restaurant and built it from something that wasn't that, you have worked with the city, worked with, through, and around the city to expand what you're doing to make your place a destination, not just for folks in town, but especially folks from out of town, that love your place. And by and large, your restaurant has been a smash success. And there are so many restaurants in town that are great like that. It makes sense that you would try to say, hey, I need to help the next business owner because you are established. You are going to get through this. So talk a little bit about your platform. What do you see as needing to be done that maybe you think you could do better, I guess?
I got to tell you, the first thing on the list for me, and probably the biggest reason that I decided to run for mayor, communication. Okay. I want our citizens to feel comfortable coming to me anytime. And even as a small business owner, I've got many, many friends that are restaurant and bar owners in town, and I'm always happy to talk to them. So now I'll actually have a real platform. So I've had the ability, I go back all the way to the first mayor that I became friends with was Ernie Siraki.
Oh
We
yeah.
have a great lineup of mayors. We got Ernie Siraki, we got Jerry Hayes, Steve Messina, and Elizabeth Patterson. I know is taking a bit of heat, but she's a wonderful person. I really like her. So we have a lot of really good people. So I've always had the ability to connect with our council members and our mayors and talk to them and give them my viewpoint. And I like that they. Thanks, Joel. I saw. Oh, you guys are. Boy, Pete, you got quite a bit of people on your show today.
You got a vote
love
from
this.
Scott Burford as well. And hell, if it's mail-in votes, I'll write you in.
Thank you very much. Well, apparently it's mail
I
in
can't vote for
California.
mayor. I'll put you in for my mayor, but hey, whatever, you'll have my vote.
Thank you. So I've always had the ability to talk to our council members and our mayors and share my viewpoint and try to be have a voice for our community. But the biggest thing is I think communication is lacking. We need more involvement, more engagement with our citizens and our public government and our city government, not less. For 2 years now, for at least over a year, small example, I've been asking the city, I've been pushing the city, as a matter of fact, share our city council meetings on Facebook, make them shareable, make it easy for people to watch on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Make it easier. It's a push of a button. You and I know with technology these days, what we're doing right now is live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, right?
Yep.
Are you telling me that our city with $1 million internet technology budget can't figure out how to share it so people can watch it? I've been watching our city council meetings lately. They've been doing the Zoom meetings, and the audio is so painful.
Yeah.
You have to turn it up just to kind of get some of the audio so you can hear what's going on. I want these things fixed. As a business owner, I see something that's not working perfectly. I have to fix it. Absolutely have to fix it. So that's what I want to do with my community. I'd say the number one thing that we need to work on in our town, better communication. As a small business owner with a restaurant downtown, I sit here all day long. I love, as you mentioned earlier, I love to say hi to people. So I get a majority of the people that come in, I get to say hi to them personally. And I love it. I live for it. And so as, if I have the opportunity, even just running for mayor of Benicia, whether I win or not isn't even really the point for me. It's, I get to engage with people. It's going to give me a platform that I can take their ideas back and share them with my friends at City Hall.
It's interesting. The person who should have the job is the one who doesn't want it. So, you have another job running a business that's just taking this massive hit. And you're like, no, I'm going to go run a city. My question to you, and I spent, for a guy that is in Benicia but doesn't live there, but I'm from Benicia, believe me. Benicia died in the wall. I'm a Benicia boy going way back.
I'll attest to that.
Yeah. Valero, man. Valero causes people to lose their effing minds. It's funny because I'm going to speak on Valero's behalf. They have been, the refinery itself, which by the way has been around since 1968.
I thought it was 76. You looked it up, didn't you?
It is. Well, I knew it was the 60s. I didn't know if it was 67 or 68, but I looked it up just to make sure. So we know. Yeah, they have been a fantastic partner for Benicia. Are they a perfect partner? No. And Benicia's not a perfect city. They have stood by us. They've invested money. You know that little nature walk garden that's in the state park? Yeah. That Valero helped a major portion of the funding for that. My uncle.
I'm going to join you in this. Listen. I think Valero is a great member of our community. They contribute over 50% of the economy of Benicia, directly and indirectly. They've got amazing employees up there, most of which live right here in our town, and they support our town. Every time the city or some organization wants money, where do they go?
Yeah,
the big boys. They go to Valero.
Valero cut us a 6-figure check to Little League. I mean, come on. The other thing, listen, I'm going to celebrate Valero a little bit because I think they deserve it. How many businesses in town or how many residents of town are indirectly, like they're the second layer out? Maybe they're a contractor. Maybe they service big trucks in the industrial park that are all there because of the refinery. It is a hub. Why are we so crappy towards them as a town? Why are we so antagonistic? And then how do we repair, or how do we go forward so that we can have a better relationship? Because I know a ton of people who invest a lot of their time. They work at Valero where they're almost compelled to be part of the community, coaching, volunteering, whatever it is. Like, they really crank that stuff out. How do we improve that relationship to see if we can't make it make sense for a modern little town?
So I'll tell you, The people that are really adamant, they don't like Valero. It's a very, very vocal minority. I don't believe at all it's representative of the of a big population in town. Now, I'm friends with some of them, and I have to say they're wonderful people.
Of course.
We don't agree on it, and I've had some conversations. Some of them get very, very excited about the conversation, and I had to try to take the calming role in it. But I don't want any of these people that hate Valero and that want them to go away. I don't want them to think I'm coming after them. I'm just simply saying I don't agree with it. Valero, as a business, has been a great member. They're not a neighbor. We're always talking about Valero like they're a neighbor. No, they're actually part of our family. They are in the community of Benicia. And if they got here in the 60s, they got here before I did.
Yeah.
I was born in 73. So if you moved to Benicia after Valero got here, well, maybe you should think twice about your decision to move to Benicia. But I can assure you that from my vantage point, Benicia needs Valero. They are our largest employer. They are very responsible. Growing up, I can't tell you, so many times driving down Lake Herman with my dad. My dad was the athletic director at California Maritime Academy. So growing up, we'd drive home along Lake Herman Road, and the skies were always orange. And as a kid, I didn't understand it, but I did think it was cool. Yeah. As you get older, you realize, oh, that's actually not cool. Our environment is really being, trampled on. So I won't tell anybody, Joel, I love you, buddy. I say thank you. By the way, Pete, I'm getting text messages popping across my screen as well from many people. Thank you guys for the love and support. I'm excited too. So I think our environment is really, really important. Please don't ever think that, I like fresh air. I love fresh air. I love our clean water. I love our clean streets. I'm absolutely pro-environment, but I'm not going to say we got to get rid of Valero. They've been here before we got here. They are, I believe, the newest refinery built on the West Coast.
Yeah, it might be in the nation, honestly.
Really?
It might be.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say, because
I was just going to say, I met Bill Greehey, who started Valero, and that guy is incredible. To meet him, I met him a handful of times, just when I was a kid. That was a few years ago when I was the DJ in town. So I was doing the sound for Valero when they switched over from Exxon. That guy was fantastic. And if that's the leadership at the top of Valero, he's not there anymore, I understand. But it's a great organization, and the people are terrific. So they're not going to support me in this, which is fine. They've already supported somebody else. But that's okay. I don't care if you support me or not. You still have my support.
And I also want to say this too, to be fair, we did a show with Valero to try to give them the ability, like they said, we want to be transparent. And I'm like, why don't you just be better at communicating first? And so they're like, yeah, good goal. And look, I love these guys. My family works there. I have some of my dearest friends work there. So I'm like, let me do this as a service and do something that's fair, positive, but fair. And we did, and we recorded a hell of a show. And Valero corporate killed it. And I'm like, you guys, you're so bad at this. Like, nothing we said was dangerous to them. And they
were concerned about it.
Mm-hmm, they were. And the thing is that, so then they started their own internal podcast. And I'm like, oh, you guys, seriously, internal podcast, great, good idea. You have to do better at communicating with town. The guy who does comms for them, for Benicia, like, I want to show you my 40 slide presentation. And I'm like, please don't. I don't want to see that.
Sorry, Paul.
And no one does, So to be fair, like, those guys are pretty crap at communicating their message out. But Benicia High School is what it is because when Exxon expanded and brought all those Texans in, they're like, holy crap, we got to help you guys build more school. All of you, if you don't, like, when there was an oil spill in town, if you said something broke, Exxon cut you a check and said, no questions asked. Your shoes got ruined by our mess. Bam, check for $100. Go buy some new shoes.
Pete, here's another thing I'd like to see, and if I do get in as mayor, I absolutely intend to work with our friends up at Valero. When you think about it, Benicia being such a small town of 28, 29, 30,000 people, we don't have the political resources to make things happen. But guess what? Our friends at Valero, they do.
They do.
And so why not partner up with Valero? See if they can help us get some of that political juice that we need at the higher levels, whether it be state or federal, to get more money for our little historic town. We were founded in 1850. We have an amazing town, but because we're so small, We're not the big dogs. We're not loud.
That's right.
But we have friends that are big dogs and they're loud. Let us
Yeah.
use them. Let us work with them to improve. Plus, Valero, by the way, owns an asphalt plant right here in Benicia. Why don't we work with Valero so that we can get that asphalt? Hopefully, we can buy it directly from them.
Yeah.
We get our own road equipment. Again, this is still just a thought.
Just a thought.
But it should be a conversation, not masks. Masks should not be the waste of time on the conversation. We should be talking about what if we got our own equipment and we were able to buy asphalt directly made in Benicia. So those are the things. But Valero is a great partner in our community. And again, the same people that want to beat them up, when they need something, they go right to Valero and say, hey, can you do this for us?
Yeah, the asphalt point is a huge thing. Like, I love folks who take a picture of the refinery venting something off. By the way, the refinery is required to report whenever they create any kind of pollution. Yeah. They have to self-police. And if they don't, like you said, the state will destroy them. The federal government will destroy them. So, and when they do get cited and something goes bad, it's because of a paperwork thing, not because they didn't report it. They always report it.
And there's nobody at the city level that has the expertise to be the oversight for Valero. Valero has plenty of oversight.
Plenty of oversight. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And I applaud. We have some citizens that are really good about trying to stay on top of Valero. I'm okay with that completely.
Yeah. I think that's Valero is too. Valero wants to be a community. Again, they're crappy at communicating, but they are great at cutting checks. And that so the thing I was going to say is the person's complaining about venting something off, and a lot of times that thing is relatively benign because they don't just dump poison into the air. It is a refinery. You want it to not blow up, and it has been remarkably safe. But the other thing is they take a picture from their SUV on a road. You're like, do you realize how many petroleum products? By the way, you're taking a picture while you're driving.
Is alive and well. It's
40%. I believe the number is 40% of roads in Northern Northern California are paved from that plant. Like, it's a massive number.
Wow.
They produce a lot of things. Think about all the jobs that come out of that.
But to the greater point, we have a lot of great businesses in the industrial park, and they could also use more city support. But they could do things to help within our community. So why would I struggle? I feel like we go outside of Benicia so much. I mean, like the business license. There's a company in Fresno, California that processes all of our city of Benicia business licenses. Are you telling me we can't find? Why don't we help somebody create a small business in Benicia that can do that for us? Because just the business that we as a city would provide could probably support a small business in town to do that. We don't need to go outside of California or of Benicia for all these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So your platform basically is improved communication, trying to talk to Valero and just figure out a way ahead, and how do we do whatever it is that we want to do, and just to be a more I don't know. I don't want to say a better partner, but just continue the good relationship we've had for the last 50 years.
Yes.
You want to support small businesses. How do we look? We're going to have some businesses that are going to shutter. That's just That's just
I've talked to some of them, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
Because these people they invest everything into it.
Yeah. This is their dream. This is their dream, is to have a little shop in a little perfect town like Benicia. And now that dream's over. So what do you do to re-stimulate businesses downtown? You're a businessman.
Well, I'd say the first thing is talk to them. They know what they need better than anybody else.
Right.
So talking to them. I mean, for example, obviously I talk a lot to the restaurants and the bars. And we have great shops. Romancing in the Home as a shop that I've always, even when I was younger, walking by them, they're the ones that have that amazing Christmas display every year.
Yes.
Do you know the shop I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
So we have a lot of really great retail shops, and I'd like to see more communication with them. Since I'm going to run for mayor, now that I'm out of the closet, I'm officially announced that I'm running for mayor. I'm more than happy to meet and talk to anybody. Again, who knows if I'll win or not? I mean, even though I've never been on council, I've been connected to council for years. I've been involved. I've been a business leader here in this town for years, and I've always tried to take the message to the to the council, to the city leaders. But I want people to feel comfortable to come and talk to me. There are people that don't know me, and I've heard that maybe sometimes I seem a little intimidating. I'm a confident person. I don't want anybody to feel that that they need to be intimidated by me. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time. We don't have to agree, but we can be respectful about it. So,
Yeah.
like on the mask issue, I talk to people all the time that think everybody should wear masks, but we can have a pleasant conversation about it. We don't have to be mean to each other about disagreeing.
Right.
And so that's important. That communication is really key. So communicating with the businesses, one of the big complaints that I've heard locally, I was on the business walk last week. Dennis Colin's a good buddy of mine, and he invited me he's part of the economic development board in town. He invited me to join his group. So I was with Tom Campbell. We had our assigned council member, Tom Campbell, who's also an old friend, great guy. We were walking around, and all the businesses that we talked to, their number one issue was, how come we don't hear from you guys more often?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So again, for me, having a presence downtown and being easily accessible, I think I can solve that problem really easily, because you can't do anything without communication. If you think about the biggest fights you've ever had with your spouse, your partner, it probably started with bad communication. I can certainly tell you that I've been on the other end of that. So you don't talk to me. So let's talk. Let's talk about the problems and more importantly, the solutions to those problems.
I couldn't agree more, man. Listen, I've done a lot of time in combat zones where we've gone to try to fix other people's governments and restart economies and that kind of thing. And we would do it from what I call the spaceship. We're going to put these loans out. We're going to put these programs together. And then I was the guy that would go out and talk to folks. And so I would meet you and I'd be like, no shit. What do you need? Like, what's the easiest thing the city could go snap their fingers and fix for you? Like tomorrow, we could have this fixed. And it was the simplest things, because you're right. The business owner knows what they need. We're going to buy a tractor that you can all share. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't work like that. That guy over there is going to take the tractor and sell it. And so we would go to find the tractor, and it would be gone. And then here's what we would do. This is how government works, right? I would be there. The next unit would come in and they'd say, you guys don't have a tractor. Let's buy you a tractor. All you guys can share it. And then they're like, yeah, you guys tried that before. And then that guy took it and sold it. And so they would buy another tractor. And the same thing would happen over and over again, because they didn't spend any time on the ground talking to folks. I totally agree. Like when I was on the pedestrian committee, I went and I talked to people in Benicia, and I'm like, tell me why you walk. That was one of the main things, because the city, and listen, no beef with Mayor Patterson, but they had the wrong idea about why people walked to Benicia. Because I went out and I talked to folks. There were several reasons why, and no one was going to walk to the industrial park to go to work. They just weren't going. Who is going to do that?
No.
It's just not.
It's an island. It's remote.
It is, and then
there's I don't even think there's a continuous sidewalk all the way up East 2nd Street. I don't think that's not realistic.
Yeah, and then it's a one-way town too, right? Like we literally can say we walked uphill both ways to school, like because you will go over it,
What elementary school?
You can't expect that.
What's that? What elementary school did you go to?
Robert Semple.
Okay, see, I'm a Mary Farmer guy, so I remember that it seemed like a really long walk when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
A mile. I lived over the Bridgeview area growing up on Gloria Way, and so I'd walk from there to the elementary, to Mary Farmer. In fact, I even did a year at St. Pat's. And as much as I love my old man, God rest his soul, there were a few times my old man forgot to pick me up after school at St. Pat's, so I had to walk home from there.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're doing this, and I love the idea of stepping up in a town that you've helped build to where it is now. And it's, I think it's a good pattern of just build on the success. Benicia has so many things going for it. It is a gorgeous town. I'm such an advocate for it. Because town. I love it when I come down there, and I remember what it used to be like. Like, I love the old Tia Teresa days, but honestly, that bar scene was dead and dangerous.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong about that. No, Benicia is absolutely an amazing town. I'm really excited to be involved with helping Benicia recover from COVID, because there's a lot that's going to have to happen. No, I love it, and I want to be able to help you, and your peers, do what I can for Benicia. I mean, we had Raul Vega on, and he and I are the top podcasters in Benicia. Sorry, everybody else, and he's got incredible. I've had Teresa Rodriguez on the show. Scott Pelkey has been on the show. I love supporting folks, and I could keep going on about all the Venetians we had or people with ties to Benicia, but the point is that I'd love to help you guys and try to. One of the things I think Benicia is lacking is we don't have a communications officer in Benicia. We have, so Mario Giuliani is our economic development director. Great guy. I've known him since he was in high school here in Benicia. Obviously, there are many people that know Mario, and And I think he's one of the best assets we have for our community in city leadership. I would love to see, instead of the city of Benicia spending money on an outside PR firm, let's hire a PR professional to come do our communication. So we should have, just like Valero does, but to your point, maybe somebody that communicates even more. Actually, Paul Adler's been terrific. He's fairly.
No, Paul's a good dude. It's just, the corporation gets in his way.
It's a corporation.
So he's limited.
Right. But having a good PR professional working for the city of Benicia that has media resources that can share this message, Benicia. There's so many people, when they come here, they love our town. I was really disappointed that our city, more than 2 months in advance, canceled our 3rd and 4th of July celebration. It's a big deal here. And I know there are people concerned that they didn't want to go out for it, but they didn't have to, right? Nobody's telling them they had to come out. But there's so many people that want to come out and celebrate the independence of our country. And as Benicia is a small historic downtown, we're going to be really hurting this year without our 3rd and 4th of July celebration. So I was really disappointed about that. Good news is we have our farmers market is starting up again Thursday, June 4th. So that'll be terrific. I'm excited to see people out for that again. And my restaurant is right in the middle of that zone. You know, when I was younger as a DJ, I DJ'd the farmers market every Thursday. I got a whopping $25 to come down and DJ for 4 hours. Boy, that's the high point of my salary, you know?
Yeah.
I got paid more then than I do as a restaurant owner now, but I love it. You mentioned something earlier. I want to circle back to you real quick. When the idea of me coming up as mayor first popped up, I absolutely was against it. There's no way. Why would I ruin my life? So I mentioned to people as I've been floating this idea for a while. So the idea came up. I started to circulate. At first, it was an absolutely not. And I would tell my friends that were serving as mayors, city council members, thank you for doing what you do. Right. It is a hard job. And I want to say, listen, Mayor Patterson is she's a very, very nice person. She's taken a lot of heat. I get it. When you're the mayor, you are you're in that seat. You're going to get beat up. Yep. So I want to say thank you to all the people that are serving our community by stepping up and volunteering, because it's not a paid position. Right. So it's a volunteer position, and it's hard because you're in a tough spot. But so anyway, my whole thing was absolutely not. I don't want to do it. I appreciate the people that want to do it. I just want input with them. Well, as I feel sometimes like my input is waning a little bit and the community input is waning, it's like the water bills, the streets, our public safety. There's a lot of things that people are really unhappy about. Yep. But our mayor took a lot of heat the other day. But I applaud her for going out and talking to the businesses. I think that maybe we need a lot more of that. I want to see our city council, our city manager. I haven't seen our city manager out. I don't want to single anybody out, but I want, our chief of police is fantastic. He routinely walks First Street. He's visible. He's happy to engage and talk to anybody. These are great things. Mm-hmm. So I want to see that with more of our city leadership. Yeah. Anybody from our city manager to our chief of police to our city council to our mayor, I want to see them around. So as I started floating the idea, whether or not I was going to run for mayor, there were 2 common responses. Response number 1, it's about time. And response number 2 is, why would you want to ruin your life? But I'm willing to serve. If people want me in there, I'll do it for 4 years. If I don't win, I'm okay with that. We're going to be fine. But I want to serve my community and I want to help in any way I can.
I have one favor to ask the soon-to-be mayor, Jason Diavatis. Is when I check out, when I croak, I want to be buried in the Benicia Arsenal Post Cemetery. It goes back to pre-Civil War days, and it's closed. But I'm positive they got room for some ashes and a plaque on the ground. That's what I want out of this whole deal.
All I can promise is that I will absolutely look into it and see what I can do for you. I can't make any other promises, Pete.
I like it. Hey, that's fair enough. That's already one little bit of extra effort I don't have to make. So I wanted to do this favor for you. Everybody who's going to go to the Bay Area, if you're going to go to Napa or you're going to go anywhere towards the northeastern part of the Bay, you have to stop in Benicia and grab a bite at the Loft. It's at the end of First Street. I'm telling you right now, you will thank me. You can get the Beef Wellington. You can go off menu and ask for a Pete, which is a beer float. You can do a lot of things, but you definitely should go to the Loft because it's just such a fantastic place. And you can hear Jason. Look, he is a fantastic dude. He's going to sit there. He's going to talk to you. and you're going to have a great time. Benicia is a great little town. If you're in the Bay Area, you've not been lately, go to Benicia. Benicia first. Shop Benicia first, back in the old 70s days. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on. Any questions for me or anything at all?
No, you know what? I really appreciate you inviting me on today, and really happy to spend the time with you, Pete. Thanks for loving Benicia. Thanks for doing what you do.
All right, stand by. I'm going to sign off.
Thank you.